Hello, everyone, and welcome to Challenge for Change. I'm Stevie Carr, founder and CEO of Wise Wellness Field, a community aimed at advancing women through whole self wellness. I'm so grateful to have all of you here today sharing your break time with us and investing in yourself. Financial wellness is wellness too. And as you'll hear today from our esteemed speaker, Bre Bovara, financial wellness is also self-care. I want to start today by just kicking off and sharing a little bit more about Challenge for Change. This series started with a pursuit to be able to establish financial healthy habits into our daily lives. And when I approached Paycor to do an event for International Women's Day, they stepped up to the plate because they determined that it's a corporate responsibility beyond their employees, but for our community to invest in how we can challenge the status quo for change in the lives of people that we serve. And so I just want to thank Paycor so much for stepping up to the plate. They're an incredible partner in this. And thank you so much to Network of Executive Women Cincinnati for helping to support and just really champion this endeavor. So without further ado, I want to step in and just introduce Bre Bovara. Bre is an incredible colleague and partner. We met through the chamber, but since our time working together in that capacity, just our collective goal of really helping to highlight the opportunities in our region to challenge for change with financial literacy has just exploded. And we really feel passionate about having unfiltered dialogue around financial literacy. Bre is Vice President and Wealth Management Advisor of Fifth Third Private Bank. She's really pushing the envelope and boundaries on having just really important level setting conversations around money. And today I think that you'll hear more about Bre's perspective and how she believes that it's the behaviors that we do every day that add up to being able to make a little change go a long way. So Bre, thank you so much for joining us today. Do you want to introduce a little bit about the topic and what we're going to hear about today?
Yes, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you everyone for joining. I really just am passionate about making finance and wealth management accessible and approachable. We all have financial questions, whether you're getting organized, accumulating, or stacking the cash, as I like to call it, or if you're planning for retirement and preserving your wealth. So I'm really excited to just talk through sort of our money habits and what plays into those habits. What events have happened to us early in life or even later in life, COVID-19, that are now establishing future money habits for us, whether they're good or bad. So I want to get into the foundation of what is going on and how we're making those decisions, and then really walk away with and provide you with some tangible tips around what can I take action on today. I want to ensure that I'm not wasting anyone's time. I'm very sensitive to that. And I hope to offer you some tips to think about and take action on as it relates to your personal finances. So with that said, I'm going to go ahead and share.
Awesome. And while you're getting that set up, I think that there's a few key just pieces and rules of the road today. If everybody could stay on mute as much as possible. If you have burning questions though, come off of mute. I mean, we really want to make this a conversation and dialogue. We will have very early opportunities to hop into breakouts. And if you've got just things that come to you and inspire you, please put them into the chat. That's one thing that I can say as a part of this unfiltered dialogue is this is a safe space and a very psychologically safe space, I would say, to ask the questions. Even if you feel like that they're dumb, I will be the one asking them. So you can put them in anonymously too and just let me know. This is also a platform for financial inclusion. And what I mean by that is that we are really aimed at making this as simple and digestible as possible. So if you feel like either Bre or I, it definitely won't be me, because I am on this journey with you. But if Bre says anything, any terms that you don't know, please interrupt her, put it in, and let's make sure that you really leave with an understanding. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Can you see my screen, Stevie?
Yes, you look great.
Okay. So as Stevie said, we want this to be unfiltered, and really just, create some approachability to finance. So cheers to Paycor to kind of leaning in and taking accountability and encouraging this change. And this conversation is really a follow-up to the money archetype presentation with Shimula. So this should be an extension of that if you were a part of it. If not, feel free to go back to the recording and kind of walk through some of the key pillars that they provided. So I really want to emphasize here that financial wellness is self-care too. We're hearing a lot about mental health. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and in light of 2020, we're all struggling with burnout and a lot of different stresses as it relates to health, finances. And actually, a recent survey came out and said that money is the number one cause of stress. So, what I hope to achieve is sort of level setting, making sure that we're talking through some of these reasons why we have biases around finances and addressing how we can work toward fixing them. So, with that said, I'm going to go ahead and move into it. So the big question is, are you one of a mindset with scarcity in mind or abundance? And I tie that into, finance terms. Are you a bull or a bear? If you're a bull, you're optimistic. You're feeling that, things are going to skyrocket. And Elon Musk would say to the moon. So if you're a bear, you're opposite. You're not, you're a glass half empty kind of person. And you're living in scarcity as it relates to your finances. And sometimes that occurs because of things that have happened in your life. Money habits are actually developed as early as age 7. And these events drive cognitive biases then drive habits. So when I think about my own personal experiences, my sister April is on this call right now. We are one of 5 kids. And growing up, our father had the scarcity mindset. He was always nervous about not having enough, being super frugal, because he was raised by his father who had the Great Depression mindset. That's how he was raised. And so when we would go out to restaurants, it would sort of be, okay, we have this whole slew of people. You're choosing from the kids menu. It's either a quesadilla, mac and cheese, or a burger. Those are your options. Choose wisely. And as an adult, I realized when I started drilling down on my expenses, how much money we spend going out to really nice, extravagant dinners. It was obnoxious, you guys, the amount of money that I tracked over the course of 12 months. And I said, well, what is feeding into this? It's something, there's something there that is feeding into all of this spending. And what I realized was it was that scarcity mindset that I grew up with that I then actually evolved into, well, I'm going to do it because I can. And what I keep telling myself is just because you can doesn't mean you should. So there are, that's a silly example, but it's an example of what drives some of these financial decisions. Why is it, that we have certain money habits the way that we have? So I look at event driven ideas for everyone on this call. We all likely went through the Great Recession of 2008, 2009. And we also all just went through the global pandemic and are still going through that beginning last year. And so what money habits have you developed in light of COVID? We spent a lot on groceries because of fear of scarcity, in tracking those expenses, the fear of not having enough, the amount that we spent at Kroger just in case was absurd. And I'm sure many of you can relate to that as well. So I want you to kind of think about the abundance mindset. Do you have that? In the scarcity or bearish mindset, do you have that? I'll tell you that both extremes are really harmful. So we want to kind of meet somewhere in the middle. If you're spending like there's no tomorrow, that's a problem as well. But if you're living in scarcity to a point that you don't feel that you can embrace and enjoy life experiences, that's an issue also. So let's get somewhere in the middle. So what I want to do is jump in, you guys, fairly quickly to breakout groups. And really, this is just to take a deep breath, get you out of, I'm sitting behind a screen, I'm not participating. I want you to really engage with some of the people in this group, small groups. Don't stress if you just got back from a workout, feel free to jump on the screen. We're going to talk about what was the feeling of money in the home that you grew up in. What's the message around spending money, around saving money? What is your earliest money memory? What message did your mother and father pass down to you about money? And can you identify a money habit, something similar to what I just shared, that you have as a result of an experience that you had at a young age? So I know this feels vulnerable, and it may be for some of you. And if you don't want to speak up, that's completely okay in these small groups. But I hope that you'll sort of start to think through, what are some of these money habits and why were they developed the way that they were? So with that said, we're going to go into breakout groups.
Okay, so I'm going to assign you automatically. If you make the decision that you don't want to hop into a breakout, or you want a different breakout, you can leave and come back to the main group as well. For people who are on Facebook Live, feel free to join on Zoom if you are interested in joining a breakout. Bre, how long will we be in these?
I'd say about 15 minutes. And if we're feeling like conversation and dialogue is really moving, we can go a little longer, but let's start with 15 and go from there.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much. And I know that we, just to reiterate, we know that these breakouts have been an incredible opportunity to meet with like-minded people here for the same reasons that you are. And so very excited. So we'll go ahead and populate these and go from there. Thank you. Let's make sure that everybody has and who wants to join the room? There we go. All right, for those of you who maybe had stepped away or are on Facebook, what I'd like to do is have Bre. What we want to do is we want to talk about our money mindset. We want to have the conversation around why we do the things that we do, what's the background beyond of our knowing, some of the triggers that we might have, that we might be stepping into. So if you are interested, I've assigned everyone a breakout group. If you are not assigned to a breakout group for some reason, let me know. And if you would like to pop into one, feel free to accept that. Welcome back, everyone. Very excited to hear how your breakouts went. I'm sure that it wasn't enough time. It never is. But we will have additional time after this event to be able to connect with Bre and share a little bit more about your story. As you're all coming back, I would love for you to just share into the chat a little bit about your money story and a little bit about your perspective on how you're stepping into your money story. I know that I have my own personal, not dissimilar to Bre, just really about wanting to have the tough nature of wanting to spend money in order to make more. And I think that that's the philosophy as a business owner, that, you know, understanding that part of my money story, letting go of that and letting it get out of my way. We learned a lot with the money archetype in the beginning, but how we also then you know, move forward and own that part of our story so we can step into the best version of ourselves. So we still have people who are in rooms.
Do we want to give like 5 more minutes for breakout rooms? I know the dialogue was like just going strong in hours.
That's fine.
I know there was one person who needed to share,
Totally.
but I don't want to speak for the entire group.
It's totally up to you. You're running the show. It more was from a timing perspective. So
okay.
Yeah.
Let's just do another 5 minutes.
Yes. Okay. Sounds good. All right. Cool. Those of you who are just joining, we are jumping back into our big breakout groups. It sounds like the conversation's just been incredible, as expected. So if you are in here and wanting to be assigned, definitely let us know. If not, I will leave you unassigned, and feel free to just reflect on yourself a little bit more about your reflection and charity. Yes, I got you. That was 15 minutes. So we'll come back after another 5 minutes and go from there. All right. I know that it's tough because I hope everybody was able to get back to the conversation. And I know that this conversation, having this space, is just really important, to have people like ourselves who want to be open and talking about money, talking about the psychology of money and how we're going to overcome some of those obstacles. So I appreciate you bearing with me as we have limited living in time in this capacity. But I think that it's really an awesome opportunity for us to, if you want to continue this conversation, definitely let us know. We're always looking for opportunities through this
I
platform
love that. That's
to
great.
provide extensions in the conversation. So as you're coming back, I'm going to go ahead and put everybody on mute again, and then allow for Bre to, oh, I just muted her again. We're going to jump into some polling questions, I believe, right, Bre?
Okay, there we go. I think
There we
I'm
go. All right.
off of mute. Yeah, so we can go ahead and do the polls. Are you able to do the polls while we're still sort of, oh, there we go. I see it.
Perfect.
Okay, so
the
right.
first questions are, when it comes to money, do you have a fear of not having enough, or do you spend like there's no tomorrow? The second question is, does financial stress keep you up at night? Yes or no? And the third, probably most important, is a hot dog a sandwich? Yes, yes with emphasis, or no?
I think that's a very important question.
It's very important, and I think speaks volumes about who you are as a person. I mean, not just whatever, but like
I just really need to know. I really just need to know. I think
needs to know. I mean, it's one of those.
Yes. I think the answer is yes.
Oh gosh. All right. Awesome. Well, if you guys can go ahead and get your answers in, we got 90% of votes in. So we'll go ahead and close here in the next 5 seconds. But I think that as we're kind of stepping into the conversation and we're sharing where we're kind of at in our mentality, is it sounds like that people are pretty fearful of not having enough, in that scarcity mindset. And it's not shocking, right? I think that, all the things you talked about, Bre, living through the Great Recession, who we were raised by, largely. And then also, I think in this region too, there's definitely a little bit of a scarcity mindset when it comes to how we work and live in the Midwest. Now, we know this is a national audience, but I think where you and I are based, there's definitely a conservative nature to this. Financial stress, hey, very excited about this 69%.
That's awesome.
It doesn't keep you up at night. I think that that's amazing, because it definitely bucks the trend that we've been saying it's the number one stressor. So maybe it doesn't keep you up at night. It could be an underlying piece. And as we said, it's a resounding no, Bre. This hot dog is not a sandwich.
Really disappointed in you guys.
I know we can debate the semantics, at another time. But I can tell you that it sounds like the people have spoken. So I think that as we kind of talk about like the rest of the conversation, I would love to see, as we're talking, any key personal ahas or insights that you personally had in relation to the conversation you just left. We know that, Bre, as you and I were talking, we talk about money advice, like what's the best money advice that you've ever received? Well, I think that as we want to have more conversations with ourselves about where is that advice coming from and how did that set the stage for you moving forward, and then maybe you receive some bad advice too. I mean, that's the thing, is like when you're younger, you're in your formidable years, you just don't know, because people, like all kinds of influences in our lives, we don't recognize the things that we maybe absorb and carry with us, and we move forward. So thank you, Colette, for getting the ball rolling. I really appreciate you sharing.
So something is happening with my screen, Stevie, and I'm trying to reshare. Can you exit out of the polls by chance?
Yeah, let's see. I think I did, but let's,
Here we go. Okay, that's
perfect. Does that work?
my full Zoom screen went away, so I'm having a hard time. I cannot share my screen for some reason.
Bummer. Let's try, let me try sharing the results and then we'll stop sharing. All right. I think that, maybe that, so Bre, maybe what you can do is if we can, because I'll go ahead and make sure that your co-host, yeah, I think we can go ahead and just, if you want to, is there any way you could send it to me? And then we can keep talking about it without having to present. Yeah, that's great.
Yes. So let me see here. There we go. All right. Sometimes my computer gets finicky. So
there we go.
Yay. Okay. As I'm over here sweating. Okay.
Deep breaths. It's just money.
Right. So, the message here is just life changes. So will your finances. Be nimble. What I would encourage you to do, here's like a pro tip, like write this down. I want you to share the experiences that you just shared with these groups. I want you to share those with your partner because we oftentimes forget to have these really important, valid conversations with the people that we are with every day, making financial decisions with. Share those with your partner. And maybe it's over a glass of wine or a cup of coffee in the morning, but you can establish sort of a money mission statement. You see a lot of these executive coaches, Pam's on, she does an amazing job, but establishing kind of what is our family mission statement. The money mission statement weaves into it. So pillars as it relates to charitable intent, how we want to spend, and really how we want to plan for the future. So I really encourage you to sort of write something down as simple or as detailed as you'd like, but I think that's really important. So we're going to jump into tangible finance tips for those getting organized. So kind of beginners, accumulators that are stacking the cash, and people who are planning for retirement and preserving their wealth and legacy. Those are the clients that we primarily work with within the private bank. Those who really need help with diversification, a comprehensive plan, making sure we're passing their wealth along to their kids or charitable organizations they love. But everything leading up to that is more important. So, one thing I just want to challenge you on, do you know what your net worth is? And that's your assets minus your liabilities. What's that number? And some people, due to student loans or other personal loans, that number may be negative, and that is okay. But how do we work toward making it positive? So this is sort of a view of what Fifth Third offers. It's self-serving. It's available for free to all of our retail customers and private bank clients. But there are also other platforms out there where you essentially pull in your 401k, your health savings account, your banking accounts, your mortgage, all into one net worth view. So I encourage you to write this down. Write down what you think your net worth is. And the action item is to get onto a platform. Mint does this as well for free. There are other platforms out there outside of Life 360, and compare what that gap is to what you actually see when you link all of your accounts up. So first and foremost, just know what your worth is. So then we're going to set the foundation. Okay. A lot of people want to benchmark and kind of do that. Well, how do I know where the money goes and when? So this is a really easy rule of thumb, basic finance, but I think we tend to forget how to do it because we have so many pieces of information swirling in our head. So this is the 50-30-20 budget rule. you can write this down. 50% of your after-tax income goes approximately toward all of your necessary expenses. That's your insurance, your mortgage, any absolute, utility bills, phone bills, things that you really cannot get rid of. 30% is spent on you. That's the discretionary spend. That is whatever the hell I want to do with it. Vacation, have fun, go to restaurants, whatever the case may be. 20% benchmark is about what you should be saving. And that's to account for 401k, IRA, retirement accounts, health savings accounts, any, other separate savings buckets that you have. That's sort of this like mental range of just knowing, am I in the right spot? Am I targeting the right sort of buckets here? So when you're going to get a mortgage, banks look at your debt to income. They want to qualify you based on, they don't want to see your mortgage being over 40% of that number. And so when I look at this like expense range, you only want to have about 50% of your income toward expenses. Really, banks are wanting to approve you for that mortgage, but you probably want to be below that 40% range to kind of account for everything else you have going on. So, a lot of people ask, well, how much cash should I have on hand? This may be unpopular opinion, but I think cash reserves can be very dynamic based on your situation. If you're someone who's a privately held business owner, your cash flow is uneven, you may want to have more cash on hand in the event that COVID-19 happens and you have to pay your bills. Someone who maybe has more of a steady stream, 3 months of expenses should be fine. I typically hear a range of anywhere from 3 to 12 months of cash reserves for you to tap into. So my kind of gut reaction is 3 to 6 months is fine, but you can be more conservative with that as well. And the cash reserve bucket may change for you year to year. Another sort of action item to write down, write what you believe your monthly expense number is. And then once you get on that platform, go home and compare what that number really is and be honest with yourself. We all have subscription addiction. So as it relates to, for me, it's Netflix, Hulu, Rent the Runway, Stitch Fix, Amazon Prime, HelloFresh. I'm like, oh God, this is like obnoxious. So get a little leaner with your expenses once you start evaluating that, and that will certainly help a little bit.
And Bre, I think
Can I ask a quick question?
Oh,
Yeah.
sure, Charity.
Yeah, I just had a quick question on the previous slide. When you mentioned cash flow, and thank you for kind of clarifying that it's not an all or nothing thing, because that does come up a lot. Where would you say that whether we call it a freedom fund, emergency cash, whatever, where does that fit on here? Because you have savings as in retirement. So I'm thinking that would not be where my emergency fund.
This chart, so I would bucket it in the savings bucket. So as you're divvying up how much is outflowing from your paycheck, and if you're putting more into cash reserves, that to me is savings. That's within that 20% range. In Charity, if you're building up your savings, you don't have those cash reserves that you're building up, maybe then that benchmark is more like 30% for the time being. And then you're dwindling down the discretionary to 20% from 30. Does that make sense?
When you say discretionary, are you talking about the wants category?
Yes.
Okay, perfect.
Yes.
Thank you for clarifying.
You're welcome.
And I was going to say, I think that as you're advancing to the next slide, I know that as a person who does not find joy in this, and a lot of times financial planning to me sounds like barriers or constraints. I think that there are some things that you can do to set it on autopilot in the beginning. Mint.com, like you said, is a great tool. Acorns is something that I've been looking into a little bit more. I'm really interested. There's a couple of other apps that I think just really provide a lot of value that, yes, it takes time to set up in the beginning, but if you find the right partner or the right service or app to help you, it allows for you to let it do a little bit more of the work. So it's not always so challenging. I think that the last point I would make is that doing the work, sitting down on a Saturday morning and doing it once, allows for you to have the freedom to unlock the potential and really understand the goals that you're trying to achieve. So what are you working towards? Why do you get up every day and go to work? Or do you not want to work? How do you get to that place where you can make that decision? I think that instead of seeing it as a constraint, I've just been personally doing a lot of the work to see it more as a shift to how can I leverage this as an opportunity to live into my values and kind of my end goals.
Yep, that goal planning is so important, and sort of the numbers game where I get really excited and kind of geek out is you can run probability of success analyses to show, okay, how likely is it that I can retire at 55, or that I can sell my business at this age for this amount and still be able to maintain my lifestyle. There are planning tools.
Yes.
This is why you hire a team to sort of walk you through, okay, I can do this.
Yeah.
And that's what you're getting at, Stevie, with the goal planning piece. I think that's so important. And sometimes, those goals are going to change. Like I said before, you have to be nimble.
Yeah.
Your income changes, your expenses change. It's okay. There's no one path to get there. It is not linear. So if anybody tells you, oh, there's only one financial strategy for this, that's not the case. It is a jungle gym. We can get you from here to here, but we may zig and zag along the way. And that's life, right? Like that's how life works.
Yeah. No, I love that. And it doesn't have to be daunting. I think that that's the risk of, and I'll let you, because I know we're running short on time, but I think that there's this philosophy that hiring a team is going to be daunting. It's going to feel like you're going to feel stupid. Like, do I even have enough money to enroll support? And I think the reality of it is, if you're asking the question, you're already on the right track. And I think it's just better, like any sort of coaching, if everybody starts with being bad at it, right? Everybody sucks in the beginning, and then you get a little bit better and you recognize that you didn't go to school for this, and that's okay. There's a reason why I outsource teaching, right? I learned very quickly during COVID that I am not a teacher for my 5-year-old. And so I allow for somebody else to take on that role and responsibility. And I have a better relationship with my child because of it. It's the same thing with money. And I think that there's no time too early to kind of engage with somebody, and it doesn't have to be expensive. So that's the last thing I just wanted to say is, like, these are all accessible tools, and it just doesn't have to be daunting.
Absolutely. So a couple of last final points. I just always like to say this: benchmarking is such a dangerous game. Social media exacerbates this. We all look at, well, what's everyone else doing? What kind of car are they driving? What kind of house do they live in? What part of town are they in? Listen, everybody has a different set of circumstances, whether it's student loan debt, you can't see that. Inherited assets, you can't see those either. Credit card debt. Social media makes benchmarking impossible to avoid, but just be conscious of it, right? Just make an effort to just focus on your in-house improvements. What can I control? And don't worry about the rest. Only focus on what you can control. So this is just my little friendly PSA here. It's just not fun to continue that benchmarking. For my accumulators, the people who I believe all are on this call that are stacking their cash, they're growing their dough. This is about time in the market, not about timing the market. Okay. The gamification of investing is garnering a lot of attention lately with meme stocks and GameStop and the crypto craze, which, hey, I don't think crypto is going away. I think that this is going to be a fundamental part of how we look at finances at some point. But today, it's gambling. So when you gamify your investing, it hinders returns by almost 3%. So you're basically saying the more actively I trade and play, There's are taxes to be considered. This hinders returns. And actually, what's really cool is women historically have better returns than men because we don't tend to tinker with our portfolios. And so I thought that was really interesting because most times I hear women say, I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm afraid, but we're really good about setting it and forgetting it. And that, as it relates to your investments and your wealth, that's really, really good. So just a pro tip here, if you enjoy the thrill of gambling, and some of us do, set that foundation first, get your expenses under control, have your cash reserves, and then open your separate fun account where you can do the gambling and the fun trading and talk about it at the pool that you made X amount on GameStop, whatever, that's fine. So really it is though, it's if you're accumulating your wealth, it's the amount of time that's in the market. I want to show you this chart. This is really the last piece I'm going to say. This chart is really important because there's 2.6 trillion, you guys, on the sidelines, excess cash reserves. People weren't spending last year. They got stimulus checks. Businesses got payroll protection funds. There is excess cash out there, which means people want to spend and travel and do all of the fun things that they want to do. And I hope that they're also considering using this opportunity for excess cash as a way to set their futures apart by doing some long-term investing. And I'm showing you this 73% number here because since 1926, this basically the 14 to the 35, so 0 to 10%, these are returns, 10 to 20, greater than 20%. The stock market, the S&P 500 specifically, is up over 73% of the time. So if you can stomach the zigs and the zags and the daily swings, and March of 2020 was a real gut check for most of us to say, oh God, is my risk posture right? I lost, 32+%, but then if you stayed the course, you gained it all back and then some. So the stock market is up. The S&P 500 has been up over 73% of the time. I say that as an encouragement to you to stay the course. So really that is kind of what I had today. I do want to leave you with some of my personal favorites as it relates to keeping yourself in the know in a way that's really manageable and easy to digest. Business Casual is a podcast. They always have, CEOs or founders of startup companies on to talk through their strategies. Skim Money is specifically a finance newsletter. Stacking Benjamin Show is kind of a fun, goofy personal finance podcast. And I love How I Built This with Guy Raz. It's really having people who started really, really successful, well-known companies, hearing the story of, well, how did I come up with this idea? How did I come up with the concept of Spanx? And now it's this global company, where the woman started in her garage shipping these orders out. It's really impressive to hear some of these stories. So Stevie, thank you for having me, and thank you to everyone for joining. I hope it was a good use of your time.
Oh,
and of course, thank you to Paycor for partnering with us, and Network of Executive Women, of course, for being supportive as well.
Thank you so much, Bre. We really appreciate your expertise and knowledge and willingness to share your personal stories on this. I would leave you with just a couple of additional thoughts. One is that it's taking time like this. The fact that you showed up today for yourself is the first step. So make sure that you use the tools that you now have in your tool belt to be able to look introspectively into your own personal values, what might be holding you back, what's a part of your money story. Write it down. I think identifying it is the first part that's really crucial and important, because a lot of times we go through life not really understanding what that narrative is that we're spinning for ourselves, and it might be holding us in the box instead of letting us out. I think that the second piece is that really understanding more, and we're going to dive into this during the next Challenge for Change event, which is around having an abundance versus scarcity mindset. This is one area that is not just tied to financial, but also tied to all aspects of our lives, and understanding more about how we can really, through really channeling our energy in a positive manner, how we can really do ourselves a better service of having a growth mindset and really stepping into those dreams. So many of you here are business owners or corporate women, or perhaps you're a stay-at-home mom that is looking to help to manage your own financial well-being. And I would encourage you to just take a look and consider, and Christine put this into the chat, that the wealth transfer over the next 5 to 20 years is going to be outstanding and enormous. And the expectation on women being taking that on is going to be incredible. And so Wise Wellness Guild is devoted to supporting you in this transfer. It means that you are likely going to be, if you are not already, the financial head of household. And if that doesn't scare you, it scares me, because I'm asking a lot of questions. I have a lot of fear base and feel like, oh gosh, cryptocurrency. I should know what that is. I don't really understand it. I joked in the chat that it's this mythical treasure hunt that, like, I don't really understand it. I don't know how it goes. So I do think that it's up to us to understand if we want to make more money as women, if we want to challenge for change, and if we want to be informed and not take on the risk and stress associated with that monetary ownership, then I think that we'll continue to have these dialogues. So thank you again to Paycor, Network of Executive Women Cincinnati, and Fifth Third Private Bank. Really excited to partner with you on this. Bre, I know that we've got a few people from your team here. We'll be coming out next month with a really exciting announcement, so stay tuned. But we're very, very excited to share this as a way to help support and continue the advancement of women through whole self wellness, financial literacy being a huge tentpole in that conversation. Thank you. Have a great day.